All right, good morning, everybody. Market's about to open. Got about 30 seconds left. Going to keep an eye on SPY and QQQ today. Going to be watching the SPY 395 call for Wednesday's expiration and the SPY 385 put on QQQ. Going to be watching the 285 call for Wednesday, the 275 put. So basically about 5 points up and down on each SPY and QQQ. Ding, 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 market's open. SPY and QQQ with a little pop at the gate, running into our open range sell zone on QQQ. Let's see how hard they want to pop it to start the day. SPX got up to about 39.11, running into our open range sell zone. See if we're going to have a pullback here to its open level, which is around 39.01 on SPX. SPY is slipping down to our open range buy zone. Let's see. VIX is now open, catching a little bounce. It's at our open range buy zone, so let's see if VIX starts to settle here and can work its way back up to the open level at that 26 for a test. SPY bouncing at our open range buy zone. Those calls, shopping around their open level after a gap up. Hopefully everyone can see my screen all right. Let's see, ES coming up to retest this 39.22. SPX coming back up to retest the open range sell zone. YM's pushing up and testing some of those pre-market highs. Also testing that 33,000 on YM. Just peaked above it, now wicked back below it. We could run into some resistance here at this 33,000 and start to go back for a potential gap fill, maybe a half gap. The Ruddy is dumping down for a new low of day. ES just got up to that 39.22 for a test and wicking back down. ES is also at our open range, or I'm sorry, at our outer shaded region. Most indices actually are at that outer shaded region, which could provide resistance and give us a pullback to, attempt part of the gap fill. My computer is like, you got a lot going on today, dude. It's a little laggy for a second, but looks like it's catching up. There we go, slipping a little lower, QQQ slipping further into our open range buy zone. The key level in the open range buy and sell zone is the blue line. It's the center of that zone. And yes, the sell levels above don't have shading in the second half of it, right? But this is a zone with the blue line in the middle being the important one. And the same down in our buy zone, this blue line is the important one. So basically just watching SPY and Q to see if they're going to get down to give that blue line a test. Currently trying to hold at the top of this buy zone. Indices pretty much at in a wedge. Ruddy did dump down a little bit. Apple dipped down to its open range buy zone and those key levels that I mentioned in prep. Tesla, man. Tesla nice and strong out the gate, got up to 236.5, got through that 233 that we covered in prep. Actually opened above it, so wouldn't be surprised if we do want to go back and retest that on Tesla. As Tesla hits our open range sell zone and having some pullbacks. Hopefully everybody that's listening in our Discord room, you were able to get into our YouTube live share. And you know, this is the kind of grid that we suggest using, right? Where we can keep an eye on our main equity in the middle, SPY and QQQ. And then I have calls on the left for each, puts on the right for each. And we watch them with our key levels. Though SPY starting to get a little bounce out of our buy zone, still expecting us to go down and fully engage that middle line. You can see that we wicked it quickly and then bounced off of it. Let's see if we can get another test. YM repeatedly rejected that 33,000. Slow start so far. There we go, a little dump on QQQ, getting further down into our buy zone. Picking right back up. Here comes SPY. Again, looking for it to get down and engage in the middle of this zone. And if you'll remember from prep, you know, basically I'm looking for 388.5, 389 to get down there and test for a shot at some of these longs. Basically looking for these 395s to get down into our buy zone before taking a shot on them. I may not get that opportunity, but everything right now is just in a wedge. Not much going on just yet. And just for fun, I'll throw my trend tool on the chart as well. Come on, loaded it. Come on. There we go. There we go, starting to slip down out of this wedge ever so slightly. Yes, getting down to VWAP. There we go, starting to get that dump. Again, kind of looking for 388.5 to 389 to be a little bit of support. Just based on recent price action, we can see those calls getting right down into our buy zone. But we don't just want to jump in immediately on those. QQQ getting down to that 280 level. You can see that these 275 puts held their open level at about 99 cents and have popped up to about $1.40. I wasn't really too interested in shorting this move, but definitely could have taken that trade for some small profit. And again, if we do continue to try to fill more of the gap, we'll see these 275 puts likely get up to fill their gap, maybe around $2. Just hit that 388.5 to the cent at the low. Be a good spot to take a shot on some calls. But still just watching to let things settle. Oh, thank you for that feedback, Rose. I can adjust the music. There, hopefully that's a little bit better, and you can hear me a little better. Getting down to our purple hash line on SPY and on QQQ. Now if we start to break back over 280, break back over 388.5, 389, we could see buyers step in quickly to get us right back up. It's definitely why we teach patience, especially on the long side after a gap up, right? There's going to be profit taking, potential half gap or full gap fill. I like to teach, most days playing the gap is, usually a pretty safe bet, right? There's definitely days where we gap and go, but the majority of the times I likes to try to get back and fill the gap, especially when, we don't have anything really driving us news-wise or momentum-wise to have a gap and go on a day right before FOMC. Starting to slip a little lower. ES slipping through 3,900. You can see those puts have gone from about $1 to $1.50. SPX is now down at its open range buy zone. Ruddy starting to bounce up to VWAP. YM did not quite make an H and set a new low of day. Trying to hold. ES back above 3,900, only slipped under it for a little wick of a candle. I have the 285 call up on QQQ, Rose, to answer your question. You can see the strikes right up here. And on those, their beast zone is way down, way past filling a gap. So not really necessarily expecting us to get down there, but always possible. I can barely see it. Yeah, I thought I was streaming in 1080, but it looks like I might be streaming in 720. I can try to go and bump up the text size. And perhaps that will help a little bit. Come on, charts, catch up. There we go. Yes, trying to hold 3,900 like a dog. VIX working its way up to where it opened on the overnight session. And VIX came out of our buy zone. Testing 26 right now. Rose. Basically, these QQQ calls are down in our buy zone. Basically just letting things settle here. We're likely about to get a pop in a second. You know, basically want to let it stop trying to head lower, let it start to bounce a little. But both the QQQ and SPY calls interacting with our buy levels. VIX starting to get over 26 a little bit, starting to catch a little bit of that bounce. Tick doing a good job of holding zero at this point. UVXY popped up to our sell zone. Looking for it to, start to reject here and head back down to give us the green light for upside. Apple is still steady slipping. Just got below 153. Tesla rejected at our open range sell zone, fell back to our open range buy zone and that 233. Microsoft been steady slipping too, back down to that 230 and a half key level. And Microsoft at the bottom of an hourly squeeze. A little dump lower. That's why I still haven't stepped into the calls just yet. Still trying to gauge the day. Those puts I've pushed up a little bit more now. And getting back to this 224 fills the gap on these puts, or on the QQQ puts. Getting up to 389 would be kind of filling the gap. Yeah, almost. On the SPYs. And yeah, we had some PMI, I think it was data that came out 9:45, and we have some more at 10 a.m. So we have some economic data coming out, adding to this little drop. QQQ has gotten down to our outer shaded region. This is kind of getting to exhaustion on selling. Would not be surprised for us to settle and then start a climb back up. Same on SPY, got to our outer shaded region. This white line is open yesterday on SPY, so pretty much came to fill that gap on open. Let's see, where did we close? Closed right near our open. So like I try to teach, most days playing the gap fill should be the first thing on our minds, and we've pretty much got that gap fill. VIX pushed up to our open range sell, starting to have a pullback to 26 again. UVXY kind of putting in a double top around this 975. YM made it down to its open level in the overnight, same on NQ and ES. I talked about this in prep that we could, fall down to test the highs from yesterday, which we are, engaging right now on ES, YM, and Q. YM actually just turned negative by $1, but trying to hold. First index to start flashing negative, starting to slip a little bit on YM. Little H on all indices. SPY and QQQ getting down to the middle of our outer shaded region. ES is close to testing that 3880 again. Those puts have gone for a double from their open level of around $1 to $2 on QQQ. Not quite a double on SPY. Calls have gotten back to fill the gap. Right? Good spot for the market to try to hold and catch a bounce. Right, and if we look at these gaps. You know, they were hitting lows at the end of the day, popped up for well over a double, and now they bring them back to see if they start loading in to run it up for another double. Just kind of talking about, you know, big money loaded for a gap up. They lock profit. They play the gap fill, lock profit. You could see a nice bounce that starts to form. These puts come back down. Calls go back up for more. But we just have to see what we get, yeah. Microsoft just slipped below 230. Apple is just slipped below 152. These were all targets to the downside that I talked about in my morning prep. That we could see everything slip down and try to hold. ES making a little H, arriving at that 38.78 key level and touching our open range buy zone. Excuse me. Apple has landed at the daily 50 in this 151 big key level. Tesla's arrived back down at that 230 key level. Little bounces starting to form here and there. Tick starting to base, get back over 0. UVXY having a pullback. VIX made it to our purple hash line. Starting to have a little pullback. You can see the ready's still positive. ES has slipped just a little negative. We do have POC up above on ES. And as I covered in prep, a lot of things were running into squeeze tops. Now we have fallen down to squeeze bottoms. QQQ made it down to the daily 8 and 21, where it held yesterday. Apple's still heading a little lower, 150.5 now. SPY made it back to that 385 at the bottom of our outer shaded region, trying to hold 385. SPY did set a new low, lower than yesterday, because if you remember, yesterday's low was about 385.25, which we're now popping back above on SPY. You can see these calls are settling at their purple hashed lines. And like we say every day, all of these levels can be support and resistance. We are now arriving at this line, and it is acting as support. So it could be a nice entry for a bounce play. Tick getting back over 0. UVXY still struggling with this 9.8 and back below that previous high. All good signs for a bounce, and we're starting to get a little bit of that bounce. Like I said, these calls off of this purple hash line could be a nice, decent entry to play right back up. Excuse me. ES only 5 points negative. Let's see, for anybody in our Discord chat that can hear me, there is a link just above to get into our stream on YouTube so that you can see my screen. I only mention it just because it looks like there's only about 13 people on YouTube, but there's more than that in our Discord chat. Everything's starting to catch a bounce off of our levels. And yep, Master of Coin, there was data that dropped at 9:45, 10 a.m. Covered that in our pre-market prep. And as I talked about in prep, you know, we could likely get a pullback to fill the gap, to retest levels that we were at yesterday. And we can see on the puts how that gap fill played out. The puts held their open level. That's, you know, one thing that we look for every day with our tools is what's holding its open level in the first 15 minutes. We can see calls were holding until they gave out right at about 9:45. And puts held their open and started to gain value before really popping at 9:45. And you can kind of see that those calls, you know, while they held their open level, they started drifting through it slowly before that 9:45 candle. So just all the signs that we try to look for. YM just made a little H, setting a new low of day. ES still trying to hold up. SPY having a little pullback to retest that low. And setting a new low now on SPY. Just a hair below that 385. Oh, come on. Toss, don't freeze on me. Everything wicking right back up after that little new low of day. There we go. Now my screen's catching up. You can see we set a new low of day, but now we're bouncing right back up and pushing for a little more. Nice pop up. So just like I was talking about, those purple hash lines could be support. Start to set up a trade to the upside as they slowly start to get going. About 8 minutes till 10:30. Yep, could be a little double bottom forming on SPY on ES. VIX coming back to 26 for a test, catching a little bounce. As SPY's in this little flag. Puts are trying to hold their trail line, but if they can give out that trail line, we'll see a pop out of this flag on SPY. Need VIX to go back below 26 to continue higher. It's catching a little bounce at their trail line. Hopefully you can see why it's important to have the call and the put up together. And on ES, we can see that we fell from our key level at 39.22 right down to our key level that we were holding yesterday, that 38.78. We're also testing 1 hour, 2 hour, 45 MAs at the lows. So we'd be looking for a bounce back up to our MAs that sit above. Can we keep slipping? Yes, if we do on ES, we're talking about getting down to that next zone and our 4 hour 45 MA, which sits at that 38.33. VIX in a little wedge here. Let's see if it can reject the trend line from high and start to dump this wedge down. We start to break out on VIX, then we might be talking about setting a new low again on SPY. But we're starting to show the signs of the bounce. Got to get through our trend line from highs and this little descending wedge to start heading back up. Nice little bounce again. Calls holding their low of day. And what we want to see is a nice push through this trend line, getting back to 387 and above. We want to see VIX reject and fall out of this wedge, heading back below 26. We want to see these puts give out their trail line and give us a nice dump candle. Starting to get through that trend line ever so slightly. Yep, coin. Just like coin shared, we made it from our 2-hour squeeze top to bottom. That was another reason that I expected a dump and at least some of a gap fill. Looks like we got the full gap fill. And even set new lows on SPY. And now we start the climb back. Slight little pullback to retest that trend line. Looking to pop through this 36.5, get up through 387. Come on. I've added in RMA Cloud to SPY just to show how we were below our MAs at open, reject, reject, reject. That led to the drop and rejection. Now we're testing that first cloud. That's what's causing these little pullbacks. But if we can keep above our incrementally higher lows, we can push through this 3-minute cloud and get up to the 5-minute cloud. Did a good job holding there, bouncing back up to try to get through this cloud and that 386.5. Those puts slowly starting to give out their trail line. Those calls starting to pop up a little bit. And just looking at and talking about the puts, you know, even if you didn't catch getting those at their open level, when they break through their trail line, they do tend to give little dips into that trailing cloud. So you still could have, excuse me, still could have entered some of these puts, you know, like these 270s when they got over their trail cloud, entered around about $1.50, ride them up to 270, catch a